Not a bill, a sentence, a demolition order for a life we built from scratch. My breath catches. The paper in my hand is shaking. A memory flashes. Sarah setting the table for a normal Tuesday. The smell of pot roast. Laughter from the grandkids. It feels like a lifetime ago. A life someone else lived. For 45 years, I built bridges. Real ones, out of steel and concrete. I believed in systems. I paid into Medicare my entire working life, thinking I was building a final bridge for myself. But it was made of paper. And the second I stepped onto it, it disintegrated. If you're watching this and think Medicare will protect you, please don't make the mistake I did. We thought we were safe. We were wrong. This is the story of how the system I trusted betrayed me, how we almost lost everything, and the hard-won lessons you need to know to keep it from happening to you. My name is Robert. I'm an engineer. My job was to make sure things were solid, dependable. My wife, Sarah, and I, we lived by that same blueprint. Paid off the house, raised 2 great kids. I remember the day our Medicare cards came in the mail. We held them up, posing for a picture, feeling a sense of arrival, a promise sealed. For years, it worked. We saw the Grand Canyon, spoiled the grandkids. My health was good. And then, on a painfully ordinary Tuesday in April, the world tilted. I was out back, wrestling with a new grill for Sarah. The instructions were a mess. I felt a familiar frustration, a tightness in my chest. When I stood up, the world went into a slow, greasy slide. I reached for the house, but my arm felt like a slab of meat, heavy and disconnected. "Robert, are you okay?" Sarah's voice came from the kitchen door, a million miles away. The words were in my head. "I'm fine, just a little dizzy." But what came out was a garbled slur that terrified me. Sarah was by my side in an instant. A nurse for 20 years, her training took over. Her face was a mask of fear, but her voice was steady. She saw my face drooping. She asked me to raise both arms. My right one just hung there, useless. "I'm calling 911, she said, her voice trembling just a little. The wail of the siren, lying on the deck looking up at a perfectly blue sky. I remember a single, reassuring thought. Thank God for Medicare. It was the one solid thing I could hold on to. I was having a major medical event. A stroke, I'd soon find out. But I had coverage. The bridge would hold. I spent 2 weeks in the hospital. The doctors confirmed it was an ischemic stroke. They acted fast, and slowly I began to come back. Therapists got me walking, then talking. But looking back, something felt off. Staff seemed rushed. Conversations clipped. Every time an administrator came in with a clipboard, the first question was the same. "You have Medicare, correct?" I'd nod. They'd make a note and leave. I don't remember signing any real admission paperwork. I just thought it was efficient. A procedural dance I didn't understand. That sense of security was as vital to my recovery as any medicine. But I didn't realize that I wasn't just a patient. I was a line item, and a clock was ticking that I couldn't hear. We thought the worst was behind us. I didn't know the real trap was still waiting. The day I was discharged was a celebration. I walked out of that hospital on my own 2 feet. The hospital had arranged for a few weeks at a skilled nursing facility. "Don't you worry," the discharge planner said, tapping her pen. "We've sent all the pre-authorizations to Medicare. It's all covered. It's all covered." That phrase became my mantra. For the next month, I focused on recovery. During this time, the mail started arriving. Each day, I'd watch for the mail truck, my stomach in a knot I couldn't explain. I'd sort through the mail, looking for the other shoe to drop. But all we got were explanation of benefits from Medicare, dense, confusing documents. I'd see the huge amount billed, $80,000, $100,000. But in the final, most important column, amount you owe, it would say $0.00. I'd show them to Sarah. See, I'd say, my finger tracing the zeros, it's working. We're covered. Each EOB was another paper plank on my paper bridge. I was looking at the evidence of the system working, completely blind to the fact it was designed to fail. The silence from the billing departments wasn't a sign that everything was paid. It was the quiet before the storm. Life was finally getting back to normal. We were starting to breathe again. We thought we were done with hospitals. We were wrong. I remember my last day at work. My crew got me a cake. "Happy retirement, Chief," it said in blue icing. I remember looking around at the faces I'd known for decades, my chest full of hope for the future Sarah and I had earned. It came on a Thursday. I opened the thick envelope casually, expecting a final summary. But it wasn't. It was a 6-page invoice. I stared at it, and that memory of the retirement cake curdled in my stomach. On the first page was a number that felt like a punch to the gut. Amount due: $212,456.78. I just stared at it. "Sarah," I called out, my voice thin, "they've made some kind of hilarious error." We spread the pages out. A dizzying list. A form letter explained. Nearly $80,000 was for services from doctors next to a single, soul-crushing phrase, "Provider is not in network." The anesthesiologist, the radiologist, I never chose them. They were assigned to me inside my in-network hospital. Then the second blow. A bill from the skilled nursing facility. Another shock, $62,000. And a denial letter. It said Medicare denied the claim because my care was deemed custodial. I read the word aloud. Custodial? It felt like being slapped. The care that taught me to walk again, to speak again, reduced to a cold, dismissive word. That night, a nightmare played in my head. A "for sale" sign in our yard. Sarah moving into her sister's guest room. Our grandkids asking why Grandma and Grandpa don't have a house anymore. I found Sarah in the kitchen just staring at the wall. "We'll lose it all," she whispered. "Everything we built." I put my arms around her. "No," I said, trying to sound like the engineer who could fix anything. "I'll fix this." But she pulled away. "How, Robert? How? This isn't a blueprint you can just redraw." The words hung in the air. This crisis was about to break more than just our bank account. This was a betrayal, and that was only the beginning of the fight. The next morning, the shock curdled into resolve. I'm an engineer. I solve problems. So began my journey into the labyrinth. The first stop was the internet. I spent hours at 2 a.m. staring at the screen, my eyes burning. I'd Google things like Medicare observation status rules and find myself drowning in pages of dense legal jargon. It felt like trying to read a foreign language, and the clock was ticking. My first call was to the hospital. After 23 minutes on hold, a woman named Brenda answered. "Sir," she said, her voice dripping with robotic pity, "it is the patient's responsibility to verify the network status of all providers before receiving services." Before? I was having a stroke. Next, I called Medicare about the custodial care denial. A man named David informed me, "According to the notes from the Utilization Review Committee, sir, your progress had plateaued." A faceless committee looking at a chart had decided I wasn't recovering fast enough. Then I discovered the trapdoor. I went back to the first hospital, EOBS, and saw 2 words: observation status. For the first 48 hours, I wasn't officially admitted as an inpatient. I was under observation, a billing distinction invisible to me, but with catastrophic consequences. To qualify for skilled nursing coverage, you must have a prior 3-day inpatient hospital stay. My 2 days observing didn't count. My entire $62,000 rehab bill was automatically denied because of a word on a form I never saw. The debt collectors started calling. The months blurred into a storm of threatening letters, a growing stack of bills on the table, and too many sleepless nights. One evening, a voicemail played while Sarah and I ate dinner in silence. "Mr. Miller, we have a file here for $212,456.78. You cannot ignore this." One night I walked past the guest room and heard a soft murmur. I paused at the door. It was Sarah. She was praying. "Give him strength, Lord," she whispered. "Don't let this break him, please. Just show us a way through." I sat in my armchair in the dark, scribbling numbers on a notepad. I felt a wave of shame so heavy it was hard to breathe. I was supposed to be the protector. One evening, I found her in the laundry room, her back to me, shoulders shaking, trying to stifle her crying so I wouldn't hear. That was the moment that truly broke me, and I knew the real fight was just beginning. I was ready to give up. The weight of it was crushing me. We actually met with a real estate agent. I remember standing in our living room, this cheerful stranger talking about curb appeal, while Sarah stood silently by the fireplace, one hand resting on the mantel. She looked so small. That afternoon, I found her in the bedroom packing a small box of photos. "Just in case," she whispered. I was holding the deed to our home in my hands, a home we built, and I felt like a failure. That evening, my son, Mark, came over. He saw the mountain of paper, the defeat in my eyes. "Dad," he said gently, "you're an engineer. You're trying to fight a broken system with logic. You need an advocate." I was too proud, but I was failing. Mark found a nonprofit called the Patient Advocate Foundation. They offered free services. A few days later, a woman named Maria was on the phone. She had the one thing everyone else lacked: empathy. She listened. When I finished, she said, "Robert, this is a terrible story, and unfortunately it's not uncommon, but they count on you giving up. Our job is to not let them win." For the first time in months, I felt a flicker of hope. Sarah sat beside me during that call, holding the phone with me. I heard the tension leave her voice as she spoke to Maria. "He's a fighter," she said, "but this almost took the fight out of him." Maria was our godsend. She explained the next level of appeal was a hearing with an administrative law judge, ALJ, a chance to talk to a person. She helped us build our case like a blueprint. For the custodial care denial, we got a detailed letter from my doctor. For the observation status trap, we found our smoking gun. A note from the ER doctor: recommend admission for neurological monitoring. The hospital's own doctor had said to admit me. For the out-of-network doctors, Maria helped us draft a letter to patient relations, framing it as a failure of their ethical duty. The hearing was over the phone. I just told my story. I talked about the grill, the fear, the betrayal. The judge listened. He said he would issue a written decision within 90 days. The wait began again, but this time it felt different. We weren't alone. 87 days later, the envelope arrived. My hands were shaking too much to open it. I handed it to Sarah. I watched her face as her eyes filled with tears, but this time they were different. "We won," she whispered. "Robert, we won." The judge had overturned the denial of my skilled nursing care. A $62,000 bill vanished. A few weeks later, the hospital reduced the out-of-network charges to the Medicare-approved amount, knocking another $70,000 off. Finally, the hospital rebilled my first 2 days as inpatient, covering the rest. A bill of over $200,000 was reduced to just under $3,000. What we should have owed all along. We won, but we lost a year of our lives. This nightmare taught me that Medicare isn't a safety net. It's a tightrope. If you're watching this, you're smarter than I was. You still have time to prepare. Here is the hard-won wisdom I wish I had known. First, understand your hospital status. Every single day, you must ask a doctor or case manager, "Am I an inpatient or am I under observation?" I lay in that bed thinking I was safe, never knowing one word could cost us $62,000. Second, know the limits of skilled nursing care. Medicare coverage is not guaranteed. It requires a qualifying 3-day inpatient hospital stay, and they can cut you off any time if they decide your care is custodial, help with daily activities. Original Medicare does not pay for long-term care. Third, beware of out-of-network doctors at in-network hospitals. In an emergency, you can't check. If it happens, fight it. Argue you had no choice. I wish I'd known that a hospital could be a minefield of billing traps. Fourth, scrutinize every bill and EOB. If you see a denial, appeal. There are 5 appeal levels. Many people give up after the first 2. Don't. We won at the 3rd level. Finally, and most importantly, do not fight alone. The system is designed to wear you down. Get an advocate. Organizations like the Patient Advocate Foundation or your State Health Insurance Assistance Program, SHIP, are your blueprint and your bridge over this treacherous water. I still keep that 6-page bill. It's folded in a drawer, a reminder of how close we came. I paid into Medicare my whole life, thinking it was a rock-solid bridge. I learned it's a bridge you have to inspect yourself, every single step of the way. I had to become the engineer of my own health care. Now my mission is to share the blueprint. This isn't just my story. It's a warning flare. Have you or a loved one ever had to fight an insurance denial? Share your story in the comments. Every story shared is a crack of light in a dark system. And please, share this video. Someone you love may be walking toward the same cliff. This video could stop them. I especially ask you to share this with the women in your life, your wives, mothers, daughters. So often, it's the women who become the caregivers, the advocates, the ones left to navigate the ruins. Let's give them the map before the bridge collapses. This afternoon, I finally finished putting that grill together. Sarah came outside as the kids and grandkids pulled into the driveway. She put her hand in mine, and we just stood there for a minute. A small thing, I know. But it felt like we were finally rebuilding. Subscribe if you believe no senior should have to fight alone again. The bridge failed. But now we build stronger ones. For each other. Thanks for listening. Watch this next for another gripping tale of retirement gone wrong. Plus the lesson you can't afford to miss.